Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream, and you're joining me for some more painting. Now, if you join me on Sunday, you'll see how I painted up to this model to almost this standard. And tonight I'm going to be continuing painting him. This is a Black Viper. This is one of the Salamander successor conversions that I will be releasing very shortly on Friday. So yeah, we're going to be painting up the rest of him. If you watch the stream on Sunday, then thank you for joining me then. And you will see that I painted, on there, I painted the red areas, the brown areas, and also the black armor as well. In between then, I have painted some of the metallics though. And I also painted the backpack. The backpack wasn't painted on the stream, but I've painted most of it. It's not quite completely done, but it's getting there. Yeah, I'm just basically just going to be continuing painting this guy on the stream. So whether you're watching me on YouTube or you're watching me over on Twitch, thank you for joining me tonight. And as always, if you have any questions, if you want to poke my brain about any information about conversions, paintings, anything like that, then please do so. So yeah, how's everyone doing tonight? Get myself painting set up. Slapper of Fish, hello. We have August Holst from Sweden, Legion from France. Polyjob, the no unseemly painting hand. I do actually have one somewhere. Where is it? It's in one of my drawers somewhere. Let's have a look. There we go. We can swap this guy out for the nice new sleek one. I actually do prefer the new one. I just couldn't remember where I'd put it. There we go. Nice new sleek painting handle. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be doing some airbrushing, and I'm going to be tackling the cloak. Now, I did kind of make a bit of a mistake here. I actually started painting these small little areas, and I actually intended to airbrush the rest of this. So I might have to repaint them, but that's fine. We have Sanet Co from Vietnam. We have Maxime Scott from France. And we have Striker the Operator from Germany. Dusky Business from Preston. So yeah, it's good to see you all tonight. So yeah, you may be thinking, oh, he's going to airbrush this cloak. And I've already painted the rest of the model, so I'm just going to overspill. But no, fear not, because I'm using this product here. This is some MIG masking putty. Now, there is a lot of different masking putties out on the market, and you can use things like masking tape. But this putty is really nice. It's like kind of like a silly putty style, but it's like this really like reusable putty that you can basically mold and form around the areas. It basically just kind of snaps off as well. It's really strange, unusual stuff, but yeah, very useful indeed. So let's start off by masking off this model. So I'm just going to start off with the shoulder pad here first. So this stuff's quite good. It's not very greasy either. I think sometimes with these kind of putties you can end up getting quite a greasy texture which can leave marks on your model. So I'm going to basically just cover up these areas best I can, just to mask off the areas I've already painted. Probably would have been easier to do this before I painted the red, but you know, I wasn't actually fully set on which colour to use straight away. But yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Praise on the side that no tech problems today. Yes, I really do hope so. Hopefully we don't have cut out midstream. Everything's going well so far. If you join me on Sunday, you will notice that right at the beginning of the stream I came on, I was just so flustered because nothing was working. Hopefully it's all working today. And yeah, hopefully we can avoid any problems. Just gonna pop this down here just to kind of cover up anything that's red. There we go. We have General Demolka from Poland. Pete the Putty Gamer. Yeah, it's actually really nice stuff. It kind of has this really nice. Let's just bring it over here. So if I show you what I mean, if I kind of pop it like that, we can have some kind of sculpture going on in the background. It's almost like pitch. If you ever seen that slow drop pitch experiment, the pitch drop experiment, It's been running for like years and just like slowly forms over time. So if you run it in high speed, you can probably see it's moving. But so whilst I'm just doing this boring putty adhesion, you can all see that going on in the background. Okay. So I'm mainly going to be focusing on the outside here. So I think I might just get this little section here just to clean that up. What's the black stuff? Let's just get the lid in. And we can do some advertising whilst we're doing it. There we go. It's MIG masking putty. There are a few companies that do this. I think AK do one, possibly. I think a lot of these kind of companies that do like miniature painting, especially like vehicle painting, things like that. They're actually really nice for doing camouflage techniques if you're doing spray painting or airbrushing, things like that. But it's all like reusable putty, and it's really nice and formed as well. So even though I'll be spraying over it, it should still be usable as well. Okay, there we go. Casual product placement. The thing is, it's easy just to place it there, and you can all like say, you can all see exactly what it is, and then if anyone is wondering what it is, they can just see it. Yo, smash the like button. Yes, please do smash the like button. Also, if you have Twitch, then you can join me on Twitch as well now. I finally hit the coveted affiliate status, so I've got my own little custom emoticons on there, or emojis, whatever they're called. I've got a nice little. I've got a dead animal bits one as well. So if you're on Twitch, you can see my little dead animal bits. Otherwise, I think if you're on YouTube, it'll just come up. Oh, does it work on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know what it comes through like on YouTube. Right. Okay, so the colour that I'm going for now, this is all masked off. I'm just going to leave that over there. I'm going to put that like that. I'm going to put this into. Let's make a snowman out of this guy quickly. I'll show you what I mean by the. There we go. We can make a very festive snowman. Now I'm a sculpting channel. There we go. Very festive. So the colours I've chosen for this is actually a kind of a greyish, kind of green-grey colour. Specifically field grey. I think against the kind of the stark black and the red, very kind of more unnatural colours, rather like much brighter colours. I think going for like a warmer, more earthy tone will contrast nicely and also work well for like a camo cloak as well. So yeah. So I'm just going to mix this paint. So I apologise for the sound effects. Right, okay. So like I said, I'm going to be using my airbrush for this, just because it's just easier, quicker. I can get some really nice blends nice and quickly. Again, I'm using my Iwata HPC Plus, if you're interested in what airbrush I'm using here. And I'm going to be using some... So as you can see here, the snowman is actually slowly melting in the corner there. I'm going to be using some of the Army Painter's thinner, just because I like to use the thinner of whatever company's paint I'm using. It's just personal preference. Just a few drops in there. We don't need too much. It's not a massive area. You haven't covered the strap. Yeah, I've got a little bit poking out there. Actually, I actually thought, you know what? This is the great thing about doing. It's the great thing about doing live streams, because all these little mistakes that I would have made if I was doing this. Oh man, this is the trouble. It goes all stringy now. Okay. If I was doing this on my own, I probably would have missed that completely and had to repaint it. I'm expecting to have to repaint the straps at the bottom. That's fine. I don't mind doing those. They're only small. Let's just... There we go. I can always touch this up with some brush work anyway, if I've missed anywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that there. And so I've got my airbrush thinner already in the airbrush, and we're going to add a few drops of field grey in there. Just give us a nice greenish grey. So the intention here is to do a very light coat. I don't want anything too strong today. Just a very, very subtle appearance. Mix it up. And I'm just going to test that out. Pobbles, thank you very much for the tip. I shall put it towards some bits from my upcoming conversions. Okay, so I think that's good. If I might just drop the pressure down a little bit. That's better. Okay, so like before, I'm going to be focusing the application from kind of a top-down approach, kind of spraying down. I might actually just cover that little strap up around the front as well. It's better to go be safe than sorry here. People are talking about the new Orc model. That's quite a nice model, actually. I think I'll probably get that one. I probably won't use him as he is. I might actually do a conversion to like a war boss or something like that. That'd be pretty good. There's kind of a severe lack of plastic Orc war bosses, like just regular ones at the moment, so quite nice to have that. I'm just going to cover all of this because no doubt I'll end up with overspray. And okay, let's mainly covering the top sections. The bottom sections aren't too bad. If I get a little bit of overspray there, that's fine. Doesn't matter too much because I'm going to probably do some dust effects at the bottom there. Okay, let's don the old glove so I don't get paint all over my hands, and then we can start to spray. Just put that down just so I'm not spraying all over my desk. So again, I'm going to be focusing the application mainly from above. Just going to have like a nice transition going from lighter areas at the top to darker areas at the bottom, just to reflect how lighting and shading would work. Legion, Pete, I have a question. After paint with your airbrush, you can take your masking putty for other miniatures. Yes, you can. So this putty I've actually used already for a few times. You basically roll it around your hands and the paint kind of comes off quite nicely. But yeah, I'll show you afterwards. So we're going to just lightly dust this from above. We want to catch all those folds. Like I said, I don't want a super strong colour here, just something very subtle. So just doing this light spray from above is kind of perfect for this. If I do overspill, then that's fine. I can always come back with a brush and fix that up later on. Okay, so you can see it just gives it a little bit of like a warmer, kind of a greyish green colour. Just adds a little bit of definition against the kind of cooler black and the warm red in the front there. Alternative Oats. Are you into football? And if you are, ever thought about converting a Blood Bowl team or necron gang so they reflect your team? I am not into any sports whatsoever. I am incredibly anti-sports, to be honest. I do like Blood Bowl though. The miniatures are really nice. I haven't really had a chance to play the game. I would like to, but yeah, maybe in the future. But yeah, very much anti-real sports, unfortunately. Okay, so just letting that dry. I do have a hairdryer nearby. Let's just speed things up a little bit. Okay. Crashing into everything when I'm getting back. Okay, so let's give us a nice, you see from just below there, we've got some darker shading underneath, and then at the top we have more of the solid colour. So we create some nice instant shading, which is the great thing about using Airbrush really. Even if you're not using it for like really intricate patterns and styles and things like that, it's just a nice way of quickly adding depth and definition to your models. Question, what's the difference between using an airbrush and a normal brush in terms of texture? So airbrushing tends to give you much smoother transitions. You also get a much more of a matte effect. It doesn't matter too much for me because I tend to varnish with matte anyway. But yeah, I find it's never as defined when you use an airbrush because you have softer spray, you have these kind of soft transitions between areas. You don't have those kind of hard edges that you can get with regular brushes. But yeah, that's basically, I like to combine the two. I don't think you can usually tell if someone's just used one of them. You can tell if someone's just used one, if you just used airbrushing and not used brush painting as well, because you lose those crisp edges. We've got Ben Ives again in the chat. He's going to probably make me do some tongue twisters later, which I refuse to do. Is your hairdryer better than your missus? No, it's actually her old one. So yeah, I kind of adopted it and use it for my... just adopted it for my miniature. It's just kind of plugged in on my desk permanently for painting models. Okay. So I think that's dry enough. We're going to keep with the field grey, and I'm probably just going to lighten it up using some stone golem here. Normally I'm not going to be using pale yellow again. I'm actually going to just use some stone golem. It was quite a bit brighter on the camera, but it's more like that colour you can see there. On the camera it looks a lot brighter, but yeah, it's basically the colour that the label is. I'm just going to add a little bit of that just to lighten it up, and then we're going to use one more airbrush, and I'm going to use highlights to get the definition for those folds after that. I don't want to go too heavy on the airbrushing here. Just enough to get a little bit of quick shading. Ben Ives, now I've had my fun. I think I'll think of some other tune to make you dance to. Hey, if you're gonna pay the old organ grinder, the monkey will dance to anything within reason. So just lightening that up a little bit. We're just going to be repeating what we did, reducing the area down a little bit more, just so we have a little bit more of a transition from light to dark. A little bit more thinner in there, just because we've added more paint and we don't want to ruin the consistency. Do you need to use a compressor for the airbrush? Yes, you do. I've seen people who, Games Workshop used to sell like cans of compressed air, and I've used them in the past when I first started, and they are next to useless. Honestly, the compressed air runs out so quickly, you might as well just get a compressor, because you'll be getting through that many cans of compressed air. So yeah. So we've got a little slightly lighter colour there. You can just about see that coming through. So we're going to be using this over the top. Again, just spraying from above, just to lighten those top sections a bit and just enhance that lighting effect. Okay, do a little bit over the shoulder as well. A little bit down there, and probably do a little bit more actually, not too much. Okay, I think that'll do. I sprayed it off the camera there. I think it was okay. So you can see how it's a lot lighter there on the shoulder pad, and then as we go down, it kind of darkens down a little bit. It's exactly what we want to create, and we want to emphasize these sweeping folds here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a very light spray. Okay, there we go. That's done for now. We're going to be just adding a little bit of cleaner to the airbrush, and I'm going to leave that to one side. I probably won't be using it just yet. Actually, tell a lie, I do have plans to use it again, so I'm going to clean this out properly. So I'm just pop a little bit thin, clean it into the top there, bring in my disgusting coffee cup of airbrush paint. Just going to mix that up with the cleaner just to empty that out and just dump that in. Okay, I'm just going to clean the rest of that out as well. It's always very important if you own an airbrush to make sure you're cleaning out everything. I've seen so many airbrushes get completely ruined by people not cleaning them out. You need to give them a good clean up after every paint to stop cross-contamination, and you also need to basically never put the airbrush away without cleaning it out, because all the internal workings get gammed up. But yeah. Put some cleaner through the nozzle there just to make sure the needle's clean. Perfect. Yeah, so we can put that to one side. Hello, is that the Iwata HPC airbrush? It is indeed, yes. What's a good method of stopping my highlights from being too stark? So it really depends on how you're highlighting. One of the things that I've found personally is to get a good eye for exactly which colour you need to highlight with. If you're using Games Workshop's and kind of method and you're following their layers, then you can find that the steps sometimes are quite strong between the two. So if you're going from something like a warpstone glow to a moot green, there's quite a big difference between those two. So what I would do is I would take your moot green and I would mix in a little bit of the warpstone glow. So you take the lighter paint, mix a little bit of the darker paint in, and that'll give you less of a strong transition between the two. You don't have quite a stark difference there. Okay. Right. So now that we've finished the airbrushing, I don't want to do too much there. We can start working on the highlights. Let's take this glove off. Okay, we can pop the goo away for the time being, and I'll actually show you what this is. So this should all be dried now, so you can basically just remove this. And if I've covered properly, you can see that it's all nicely removed. It's not damaged the paintwork underneath, and it also stops the paintwork from getting covered in that airbrushing spray. So yeah, it's quite a nice product. The inside of the cape I'm keeping black. I'm not really too fussed about that. I might do some highlights over the top, but yeah, it's worked quite nicely. The only thing is I did miss this little section of the shoulder pad, so I might just go over that again with some paint in a second. But yeah, so this is reusable. All I do is tend to just roll it around in my my fingers and then pop that back with the main blob, and there we go. Perfect. Reusable. So, wet palette time. Nice clean sheet of paper on there, and we're going to be kind of carrying on from where we went off with the airbrushing highlights. We're going to start off with a little bit of field grey there, and then we're going to mix in some of the stone golem. Lee Huntington, your kit bashing is awesome. Thank you very much. Do enjoy kit bashing. It's probably one of my favourite parts of the hobby, personally. There's quite a few people trying to go chug the disgusting paint water cup. I mean, I don't think I would for any money drink that. That'd probably kill me. There's all sorts of various different paints and cleaning products in there, and I'm not sure how deep that is. Let's just see how deep this layer is, so you can see. So that's how deep of paint that is. That's terrible. It's actually a promotional coffee cup from Burger King. Oops. So yeah, some more product placement there. Go to Burger King and enjoy their lovely hot drinks. Anyway, let's carry on. So I'm going to mix this stone golem with the field grey just to give us a lighter paint to highlight with. A little dab of water in there just to thin it out. With highlighting, I don't want to add too much water because you lose that consistency. That actually allows you to keep a nice point on your brushes. Forbidden coffee. It is disgusting. It just literally sits in my drawer. I think I emptied it out before, and then it's just kind of slowly built up over the years. I'm trying to get it like up to the top here. That's my goal for 2021. Okay, so let's grab a little bit of this on the brush, and we can start to just highlight, just picking out some of these hard edges. I have moved the camera around a little bit actually because I did complain that it was in a little bit of a funny space. It's better positioned for kit bashing, but for painting it just works better like this personally. So the paint that I'm using here is pretty much the same kind of mixture as I actually put through the airbrush. but when you use it through an airbrush, it's more of like a thin transition, so it's not quite a solid colour, so you can use the same colour as an edge highlight, and it's just like a nice, subtle first highlight that you can apply just to bring out these edges and just to sharpen them up a little bit. So I'm actually hoping to get this guy done in this stream. I've got about 2 hours for this stream scheduled in, so I've got another hour and a half. I think I can get it done. I got most of this model done before in that time. So the thing is, I've just noticed a little bit of a mistake. I was going to keep the inside black there, but then I've decided to have this folded over, so that needs to also be repainted later on. Oh well. Which brushes do you use? I use this one here. This is basically just a Army Painter regiment brush, and I've been using this for a couple of months, this particular brush, I think. Nearly 2 months now. Just make sure I clean it and never use it for metallics, and it's pretty good, to be honest. I love the outrage of the water cup. It's not really a water cup, it's just a kind of a dump cup that I use just for emptying out my the airbrushing reservoir at the end of a paint session. My water cup isn't loads better, to be honest. I do clean that out a bit more regularly, but are the bristles synthetic or horsehair? So I think these are sable. I don't think they're Kalinsky sable. I think they're just regular sable. So yeah, there probably will be horsetail hair. The only time I tend to use synthetic fibers is for things like washes, and if I'm covering a large area with a wash, I'll use like a synthetic fiber. If I'm using it for oils and enamel-based paints, things like that, I'll also use a synthetic. In dry brushing too, things can be quite heavy going on natural fiber brushes, so they're usually quite good for those things. Mess that up a little bit. Okay. Nicholas Gonin, hi, just during the stream, did you say something about metallic paint damaging the brushes? Yeah, so basically metallic paints have lots of small little flakes of metal in them, and they can basically get stuck in there. They can kind of wear down the bristles. It takes a while to do, but if you're consistently, since I switched to using my like a specific brush for metallics, then it keeps the brushes alive for a lot longer, basically. I use older brushes for my metallics, so that's usually where I go for that one. But it's something I learned fairly recently, actually. For a long time I was just using the same brushes. But since I switched over, I found it was a lot better, personally. Would you drink that for eternal life? I mean, I live for about probably 10 minutes after drinking that, to be fair. Are you going to do the cloak trim in another colour? No, I think I'm going to keep it just kind of nice and plain. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be like a camouflage. So I don't want to have it too strongly coloured. Okay, I think that's probably okay for that first highlight. Let's do a little bit of just one down here, and we'll do a little bit more down here as well. Is it weird to name your brushes? I mean, there's plenty of people do name the brushes. I think I don't personally, but yeah. Thanks. Just coming back to the hobby after like 10 years, I only painted 6 model while not being a kid. Yeah, it's one of those hobbies that a lot of people do end up coming back to. I had a break from it whilst I was at university simply because whilst I was at university I couldn't afford to collect Warhammer at the same time as paying for studies. So a lot of people end up coming back to it later on in life, especially this year. I think a lot of people have kind of thought, you know, I've got a lot of time on my hands, let's dust off those old plastic models that have been in the attic for God knows how many years. By the way, I started watching your videos to learn English, and now I am the best in my class. It's good to hear. I'm surprised that I have that much of a vocabulary, really. I think, unless there's an exam on how to say dead animal bits, then I don't think there would be much kind of... I suppose it does end up using quite a large amount of vocabulary. I can't even speak properly. Vocabulary. Terrible English teacher. Pete the English gamer, Pete the British gamer, Pete the qualified gamer. Ironically, I don't actually game much. I've always thought that's a bit of an ironic title because I just paint and make models on this channel. I never actually do any gaming or tabletop gaming or anything like that. So basically I'm a fraud. But I feel like if I change my name to Pete the Painter, people would just start looking, like, coming onto the channel to see how to paint a kitchen or something like that. I've only painted one model recently, but bought a bloody ton of the stuff. Yeah, to be honest, if I didn't do this channel, I probably wouldn't paint anywhere near as much as I do at the moment. It's a very good motivator to do painting, this channel is. Okay, so that's the first highlight done. I think I'm going to leave that there for the time being. We just help to emphasize some of the folds a little bit stronger now. We're going to be keeping with that mixture, and we're just going to add a little bit more stone golem in there. Bob the Builder's a strange cousin, Pete the Painter. Yeah, Pete the War Painter, yeah, could do that. But then people might just think I'm just there playing camo sticks to my face. There's probably some makeup channels called like the War Painter or something like that as well. Although they're pretty lucrative, those makeup channels are. Just going to increase the lightness of this paint. I bet you can't even see it actually. If I shade it, can you see it a bit better? There we go. You can just about see the tone that I'm going for. Unfortunately, this white surface just reflects and blows out the camera a little bit. And we're going to be using the same kind of principle, just reducing the size of the areas that we're highlighting here. Just going to be focusing more towards the top of these shoulders because these are going to be the points where the light is hitting. Pete the Converter. Change it to Army Painter, then you've personalised stuff with no fuss. That's exactly right, yeah. I could also cash it on anyone searching for Army Painter paints. They could literally just be like, oh, Pete the Army Painter. I just can write just Pete next to that. As a humble YouTuber and took a camo stick to the face. Yeah. I mean, it's to be honest, it's quite hard to name a wargaming channel, I think, because I can't name anything specifically 40k because I don't just cover 40k stuff on my channel, although I do a lot of Space Marines. I do historical stuff as well, and I do non-40k stuff, and I do Age of Sigmar stuff, so I can't even say just one kind of system. And you've kind of got to have a name which is descriptive of what you do, and yeah, it's quite difficult. I think I've gone through about 3 iterations of names since I've been doing this channel, and I feel like I'm happy with Pete the Wargamer, even if it is a little bit of a poor description of what I do. I think in the future I just need to do some more gaming related content, that's all. That'll fix that. I won't feel like a fraud anymore. Okay. So I'm a little bit reluctant to highlight any further here because that's where the backpack is going to be, so I'm going to just pick out these slightly more raised sections here. The forbidden drink should be your mascot. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of like those kind of forbidden drinks, forbidden foods, you know, people eating Tide Pods a few years ago. Could be onto something. I could be the next TikTok star. Just get everyone to start a new craze of everyone drinking the paint water on in wargaming circles. Okay, I think I'm going to keep it there. I don't want to go too heavy with the cloak. Just keep something nice and straightforward and simple. I'm probably going to add a little bit of dust and dirt around the bottom once the model's done. But yeah, it's a camo cloak. It's kind of like a greyish, like a warm grey. So anything is I need to fix this now, and I need to highlight the inside of the cloak. So let's go for this. Pete paint stuff. Pete Diddy. Peter Griffin, Pete the Cat. Let's face it, we all know Pete is just Pete. Yeah. You should do merch with it saying dead animal bits on it. Yeah, honestly, I've been really tempted just to do a dead animal bits t-shirt, and then if I ever go to one of the conventions again, like Salute or Warhammer Day, then everyone, because no one sees my face anymore. I used to be on my videos and everyone just sees my hands, so I need a t-shirt so everyone can recognize it's me, and I think dead animal bits is good. The only thing is, I think wearing that in public with kind of people, I just feel like I'm going to get mobbed and kidnapped by Peter. Or PETA, however it's pronounced. Okay. So this is obviously the inside of the cloak here. Like I said, I don't really want to keep that. I want to keep that black, so this is going to need to be base coat. I've got some Vallejo's black grey, which is what I used to get the colour of the armour. So I'm going to need to just be a little bit more, probably a little bit stronger with the old highlights for the section, just so it contrasts a little bit more against the black of the armour. Okay, nice easy coverage there. What are you doing for decals? Decals. I'm tempted to freehand the Viper, but I'm not very good with that. So, yeah. Well, there's no dead animal bits on this model. I was tempted to use some like vipers and snakes on the base, but ultimately decided against it. But no, there's nothing on this one, I'm afraid. Exterminatus Delivery Service. Haven't heard of the Black Vipers. Are they new? Are they a new Primus chapter? Yes, they are a new Salamander Successor chapter. Part of my Salamander Successor series. They are the fourth and final successor that we know of for the time being. So we'll see when the Salamanders inevitably get their Codex supplement. Then obviously we'll find out whether or not there are more, or we'll get a little bit more information. But for the time being, I've kind of in my own personal headcanon, I see these guys as being kind of Corv's personal Space Marines. They're his test bed for a new weaponry. And I also think they have a little bit of a sinister kind of attitude as well. I think that they're kind of being tested out or employed to see how they can take on Firstborn Marines, just to kind of wipe them out, which is why I've got a little bit of the helmet at the bottom there. Bye, Legion. Thanks for joining. King Kood, can you help me with my Space Wolf Success chapter? Yeah, if you just let me know what you want to know, then I can do my best. Lee Huntington, what are you doing next? After this guy, it's not going to be a Space Marine video, it's going to be a Xenos video, and it's going to be an Orc-related one, but that's all I'm saying for the time being. I'm going to keep it nice and quiet. That's going to be probably the next video. I might squeeze out another video in between then. Who knows? I do have a week off next week, so a little bit more hobby time, more time to do some content. Feel good. I guess Layla is dead animal. It's yes, you are correct. RK Sanders. Conclude. You need a name. Okay. So if you, I think you might have asked the question earlier. Actually, if it is for your whole chapter, then one of the things that I would recommend doing is looking at what inspires kind of space wolves, what kind of themes inspire them, more historical areas. And obviously it's kind of like Vikings, kind of Dark Age Vikings. So if you basically have a look at for those kind of names, clan names, kind of the weaponry, the uniforms, things like that. So you could have like things like Wolftheins or Huskarls, or you could have Drengia. There's lots of cool names you can go for. You can use some in-world names, so like Blades of Fenris, that's another one. Yeah, there's lots of kind of different things you can base it on by looking either at the chapter, the parent chapters, source material, or what they are based on in reality. So that's why I'd recommend going for them. So I'm just going to use some highlights on the inside of this cloak here, just because this is going to be kept pure black, so I just want some nice highlights on the inside here, just so it doesn't look as flat as it currently does. Most of this area will be covered up by the gun, so I'm not worried too much if you can't see this at the moment. But you know, you can't be 100% sure what you can and can't see until you actually attach the model. Paw Pals. Yeah, call them the Paw Patrol. Or Wolf Buddies, or Wolf Bud. Kinku just smashing Fenris, axes, and wolves. Yeah, you should, any kind of combination. There's probably even a name generator online. I wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of cool stuff online for naming different homebrew chapters and things like that. Okay. So that's dry now. We're going to be grabbing the pastel yellow, and we're going to mix that into the little bit of black grey that I have here, just to get that nice highlight edge. I hate cats chapter. I'm just using a slightly lighter grey here just to highlight the edges of the cloak. This is mainly just to give it a little bit of contrast against the armour, the pure black armour. Okay, so I think the cloak's done for now. The straps are a little bit covered up, but that's not too bad because I think I'll be kind of dusting them with some like a tan spray later on. So it's different enough against the actual main body. We've got like a dark armor and the bright red contrast nicely against this kind of warmish grey color. So the next detail that I wanted, let's bring in the rest of the model just so I can kind of explain. Well, actually, no, I'm going to work on something else. Okay, so this is the weapon. This is kind of like a prototype weapon that this particular Black Viper has been equipped with, and you can see here it's got a little bit of Xenos technology there, a little bit of sneaky Xenos technology that's been employed by Core. We have the tip of a Deathmark synaptic disintegrator, I think it's called. But yeah, one of the Deathmark necron weaponry. So we're going to be actually painting this bit here now. I want this to actually look like it's been taken from a necron. So we're going to be adding some black green to that. So I've got myself some of these paints from AK Interactive, some of the green sets. So some nice different greens in here. And I'm going to start off with this one, just dark green, I think. No, definitely dark green. So these three are a little bit more like kind of washed out greens, olive greens, more of what you'd see on like military models, and these are a bit more like orc skin. So I'm going to go for this one here. We were doing more basing videos. Crystal's base was amazing. Yes, I do quite a lot of, I do enjoy making the bases, and if you've seen a lot of my models, I do quite intricate bases sometimes. So I'm just mixing the paint, guys, don't worry. That's just what the strange sound is. Okay, paint's mixed. So this is actually on its own probably a little bit too dark for the first highlight. So I'm just going to grab some of the black grey, and we're just going to actually put this in shot to begin with, so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to put a little bit of black grey in there, a little bit more. There we go. Just going to darken that down a little bit. Okay. Let's grab that, pop that into there. Let's get a slightly darker green. There we go, perfect. A little bit of water in there. And I'm going to be using that to highlight the weapon. Okay, so I'm going to basically keep this as the base coat of black from when I primed it. And we're basically going to just pick out the edges. I keep saying basically, so basically do this. So by keeping the actual weapon as a black base colour and just adding this green highlight, you kind of give the impression that it's actually a dark green colour itself rather than being black. It's one of the nice things you can do with highlights, especially for things like blues and greens work particularly well. Light colours not so much, but if you're doing like these like dark colours, you can create some really nice deep colours just by highlighting them. I think doing any dioramas, maybe Space Hulk. Can you please have a go at converting the Marines from the Astartes film? So the only thing with the Marines from that is they're actually very kind of simplistic. Really, they're kind of like the old school style Firstborn Marines with just like the Mark 7 helmets, I think it is. There's not really much to them. Maybe when we get, I think we're due for like have another season of them, aren't we? There's like a nice teaser trailer that kind of got leaked. And I think we might see a few more like variants in there, so it'd be pretty cool to see and maybe convert something. I think Cromlech do some insignia shoulder pads for them though. Have you put a model on the base that you converted a bit ago? The Hive World infective one with the pipes. Yes, do I have it here? I think I put it away actually. I don't actually have it in the drawer. It was for my Cruor blades. If you have a look at one of my videos from a couple of weeks ago, I did the Cruor blades. It was a Blood Angel successor, and that was the base that I used for that particular guy. So I'm hoping that this green will kind of contrast nicely against the reds of this model. That was actually something I wanted to do on this rifle, and I forgot to do with the red, so I might add that in a second. Okay, so that's the first highlight done, very subtle. Nothing too strong, and then we're going to be using just the pure dark green here, which is ironically lighter than the green we've just been using. I'm just going to use this to pick out these top edges here. Again, just recreating the effect of light hitting them. And that light coming from above, and so making these look a little bit brighter. Okay. This isn't the only green I'm planning on adding to this model. I'm planning to add a little bit more of like a nice OSL effect, which I'll be using the Airbrush for, just because it's much simpler. It's actually the same effect that I used on my Stellar Size video, so if you've seen that video from last Friday, and you're interested in how I made the glowing effects on there, and also the hyperphase glaive, then you can follow the same techniques I'll be using on this guy very soon. Just want to get this done first. Okay. Oops. Just knocked the old painting handle into the drawer there. I know it's unlikely that you see my message, but what's your main army? Since you paint so many different factions, I'd run a vehicle Thousand Suns army if I had the money. So I mean, I've said this a few times in my previous streams. I have lots of different models from lots of different armies, but actually not really much in the way of a full army. I am slowly building up some Death Guard, and I was working on some Lumineth for Age of Sigmar. But yeah, not really much of a full army. I have about 1,000 points worth of Iron Jaws, the Age of Sigmar Iron Jaws painted up, and probably a few more unpainted as well, or at least partly assembled and primed. But yeah, I actually don't have much, to be honest. I need to kind of really step up my game with this this whole thing and get a full army painted, which is part of the reason why I shouldn't really be calling myself Pete the Wargamer, because I actually don't have much in the way of a playable, forceful wargaming. So, what's the model's gun? Looks really good. Is the gun converted? Yes, it is converted. This is it's mixing the paint there again. Sorry, guys. This is basically part of the conversion. It will be going live on Friday. I'm not going to give anything away because you won't watch the Friday video, so stay tuned and you'll find out exactly how I built this gun, but this is a conversion. But the fact that not everyone knows if it is a conversion is a good sign, because it obviously means it looks realistic enough to be a genuine weapon. So I just switched over to using some of the deep green, which is the slightly lighter version of dark green. And I'm just using this just to pick out just a few of these edges, kind of really speeding this process up here, just mainly the top edges. And that's really going to enhance how bright this green is looking. Okay, and finally, we're just going to get some of the brightest green in this set, which is light green. Washing your hair Friday, Ben. Well, I know where your loyalties lie. You should just sit there with greasy hair and watching my videos. Okay, last bit, just very small little dots on these, a little bit too much there, on these corners here, just to really emphasize their sharpness. A little bit too much there as well. Oh, I'm really clumsy today. What's going on? Okay, so that's it. That's that done. I was going to move on straight on to the next step, but I did actually miss a step before I can do that. So we need to paint some red again. Pete the War Converter. Pete the Clumsy Chump, yeah. Kind of makes me sound like I'm like a slapstick comedy channel instead. A really bad one. BioBerserker Gaming super chatted £3.71, or $5, $5 US. Since you made the new Salamander successors, you should kit bash the Black Dragons next. Yeah, those guys are always requested, and I really should probably do them at some point. I've had ideas for them. I've had bits stockpiled for them for ages. The only trouble is I kind of wasn't. It was before I liked to kind of go a bit maverick, I suppose, on the conversions. Like these guys, there's very little information about these guys, so I feel like I could enhance their background a little bit, because apart from their bone claws, there isn't really much about them that I could incorporate into a conversion. But I think if I dug a little bit deeper, I could probably find something, or at least come up with something to add in. But yeah, Black Dragons are a nice one, and I've been meaning to do them for a while, so yeah, good idea. So maybe we're wondering why I'm doing this red. Two reasons. First of all, it matches the red on the rest of the model, and it also contrasts nicely against the green as well. That's what I'm going for here. Pete the Maverick. Yeah, I use the same brush for painting metallics and non-metallics, and I don't care. Although painting in sunglasses are probably incredibly hard. Puff the Pete Dragon. There used to be a there was an old Disney film, wasn't there, called Pete's Dragon, with the kid who had the invisible dragon, kind of abused orphan child. Very dark film, to be honest, if you actually think about it. He had a family and they just kind of tried to use him and sell him or something. Very strange film. Right, so I've used my dirty red to begin the base coat, and I'm going to grab some of my brighter reds just for the highlights. Okay, start from deep red. And just use a little bit of this just to pick out the small skull. Nothing too fancy. Nice and simple. Perfect. And this side probably doesn't matter because you won't see it, but just in case you can, I'm still going to highlight it at least a little bit. Okay. So now comes the fun part. This is the bit I've kind of been looking forward to do. I'm just going to double check. I don't think there's anywhere else on the model I haven't painted yet. I think everything's been done. So it means I can move on to some OSL effects. So if so this guy here is basically what I'm going to be recreating, this kind of effect that I've got up here. And that was done with 2 paints and an airbrush. It was involving the channel favorite, pastel yellow. A little bit bright there, isn't it? Probably my favorite paint ever. And we're also going to be using a paint that I've lost, and it's there, right there. We're going to be using some Tesseract Glow. So yeah, just to create some nice bright colour. Oh yeah, no, definitely not as messed up as Return to Oz. That was the wheelers on that was like such a crazy. It was a horrible film, to be honest. You've seen the first Wizard of Oz film. That's kind of scary enough as a kid, and the second one's just like horrendous. Anyway, so there is actually something I have missed, and I've just noticed it, so I'm going to quickly do that. This is the trouble. So many individual bits just knocking around. Okay, so it's going to be this little small Adeptus Mechanicus logo on the back. I'm going to start off with some black grey, I think. I'm just going to give everything a coat of black grey now. I just need to familiarise myself with that symbol because I can't remember which side is black and which side is white. Adeptus Mechanicus symbol. So, oh, it's different on different things. Okay, so the left side of the skull is black on a ivory/white background. Okay. So I kind of included this symbol here just because it's a reference to obviously them being the personal Space Marines of Call. Also helps to kind of tech out the backpack a bit and enhance that experimental weaponry aspect that I was looking to go for. Okay, perfect. Does Call have his own heraldry? I don't know, actually. I don't know if he does have his own heraldry. I know he's kind of based on Mars, so I'd assume we just have the standard kind of Mars Adeptus Mechanicus symbol. Don't know. Just let that dry for a bit. So as always, if whilst I'm just waiting for that to dry, we can plug the Discord channel again. If you're not already on Discord, then you can. I'll get the link up for everyone. If you aren't already part of the Discord, then you can find it in the description on the YouTube channel. But if you are, let's get the invite link. Invite people. Copy, and I'll put that into the Twitch as well, so if you haven't already done so, you can join there. Lots of great people over on the Discord, so yeah, please do check that out. Yeah, I'm on there, probably not as often as I should be, but I do pop on there. You can leave suggestions for YouTube content you want to see. As I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I'm also streaming this to Twitch, and if you would like to join me over on there, you can do so. Thanks to everyone who joined me in the last stream, I've now reached affiliate status, which means I can have subscribers and bits and all this stuff that I don't really know about Twitch because I don't use it very often. But I've also got things like custom emojis. So there's actually a dead animal bits one in there as well. That's nice. Okay, is that dried yet? Yes. Okay, so we're going to do... What do we need? We need a white or a white proxy. What do I have in this paint box? Field blue? No, probably wolf grey. Bit closer. Okay, let's go for that. So I'm going to use some of the field blue here. Field blue, that's what I'm going to use for the basis of this. Seems odd. And I've completely actually forgot what the Adeptus Mechanicus symbol is like. Black skull on the left. Okay. So I'm going to slowly build up to the white. I'm going to use a little bit of this kind of greyish blue here just to give me a slightly lighter colour to work with. It's probably a little bit too dark, but we'll see. Hang on. Okay, the skull is black on the left. There we go. Jesus Christ, this is... It's one of those things where it's a really simple thing, but you can just never quite remember exactly what it is. It's like, does Stanley have a mustache in the office? Okay. So I'm actually really glad that I moved the camera position, because that would have been really difficult if I was using the same position as was last time. Did you find out what OS are? Old school RuneScape. That's what I used to play when I was 12. Has anyone tried cow tongue? Surprisingly good. I haven't. I can't say I have tried cow tongue. I've had oxtail, which is kind of the same kind of offal region. I'm going to use wolf grey next. I quite like doing streams past 8 o'clock. Sorry, the kind of the conversation just really takes an unusual direction. Okay, so even though I've used like just a light grey here instead of the pure white, what it's actually done, because it's being compared against the reds and everything else, it looks white and it's not pure white, because I think pure white can sometimes look a little bit overpowering on models where there's not as much. And the thing is, pure white is often very rarely purely white. It looks more grey in a lot of situations. Okay, that's done now. I think that's everything. I'll just do one more check over all the components. Yes, that's done, that's done, that's done. Okay, so we can actually start working on the OSL bits, the fun bits. Okay, I'm just going to pop the wet palette away for now. I don't need it just yet. Manzak Miniatures, welcome. OSL is object source lighting, which is basically kind of what I'm doing in a second. I'm just going to take a drink first, just to wet the old whistle. Okay, so we're back with the old airbrush now. We're going to drop a little bit of thinner in there. then we're going to grab some pastel yellow. I'm going to pop some of that in there as well. And we are going to mix that up. So the reason I'm using yellow here instead of a white is because I'll be applying a green over the top, and the yellow kind of keeps the brightness of the green. It stops it from just looking washed out like a pale green. Instead, it makes it look a lot more, a lot smoother transitions basically. And what I'm going to be using this for is to just add a little bit of very subtle glowing effect to some of the items on the model. I'm going to go over with my regular brush in a second just to pick out some more finer details like the lenses and the helmet. But I'm choosing green, first of all, as an allusion to the necron weaponry that's kind of being hacked together here, but also because it contrasts nicely against the red, so it gives a nice contrast point. So I've got these kind of weird valve things here, so that's going to be what I'm going to start off with first. Apply very, very subtle amounts of the pastel yellow over them. The trick is here to build this up slowly. You don't want too much, you just want a very kind of subtle amount first. Just let's build up very, very slowly. So whilst that's drying, I'm going to paint this little pipe here at the front. This is also going to be want a glowing effect from that as well. So again, the trick is here just to build everything up nice and slowly. Also gives you a lot more control over the airbrush itself. Painting finer details like this, you kind of want to have very slow build-ups of paint. Hello Wolf Parable, welcome to the stream. A little bit faster than I wanted it to then. That's better. Okay, so I don't mind a little bit of overlap here either. It kind of just adds to the glowing effect. So the fact that it's kind of spread out over onto the metal, that's fine. I'm quite happy with that. So that's done. We can move on to the backpack. A couple of areas on here that we want to. Pete, you have very hairy fingers. I have very hairy hands as well. You can see the hairs that I have there. Yeah, and arms. Good in the winter, not so good in the summer. Ironically though, look, this is like a really strange thing. I have no hairs on these fingers, but I do on every other one of the fingers. It's a very strange phenomenon. Okay, I'm going to be applying a little bit to these optics up here. Again, just building things up nice and slowly. Okay. And then we also have these valves that are sticking out the backpack here, so that's why I wanted to do the the symbol first, because if I hadn't done it last, then if I did only have any overspray, I'd end up painting over it and it just wouldn't look right. In fact, what I'm going to do before I do that is grab a little bit of this putty again. Hi Pete, what kind of pressures do you run in your compressor for thin airbrush layers for stuff like zenithals and OSL? So, at the moment, the actual dial is set to about 30 psi, but when you're actually running it through, it doesn't maintain that pressure, it drops down to about 25. So I think anywhere between 20 and 25 is good for smoother, finer stuff like this. But if you want to paint base coats and you want to paint stuff quite quickly, then using higher pressures like 30 is probably advised. And then when you're cleaning, I usually put up to about 40 personally. I'm just doing this because I don't want to accidentally overspill too much onto. Just need something thin. Where's my? Where's the old Protos? There we go. Okay, cool. Keep this out of the way. Don't want to overspill into that. Got a blockage. There's anything about running lower pressures really is that you find it kind of can end up drying a little bit too quickly. It can dry up in the nozzle as opposed to actually on the surface, so you just need to be careful. Okay, so leave that for a second to dry, and then I can apply the next layer over the top. Do I have any else? Let's do the scope as well. Actually, let's do the old rifle scope. Okay. Might need to water this down a little bit more. Actually, it's getting clogged up a little bit too quickly. There we go. It's a bit better. Oops. did actually a few people mentioning speaking German in the comments, and it was actually something I was trying to learn for a while. I was learning it last year and a little bit more the year before. I just kind of stopped for some reason. I don't know why. I was kind of enjoying it. It's as an English speaker, it's quite a good language to learn because there's a lot of similarities. Oh dear, a bit too much there. It's how much I can remember though from from the little bit that I learnt. Probably not much actually. Another highlight question. I often draw back too much on the trigger plus release too much paint when I'm highlighting. Is it a good idea to set the needle further back so any air will always release paint? So this particular airbrush is quite good because it has this little like adjustable thing at the end. So if I put this in here, it actually locks how much I can push the needle back, and by doing that, if I open it all the way, you can see it going back a lot further, and that kind of acts as like a limiter, which is quite good. So I'm just trying to get the old you say V-Gates, S-Dear, or V-Gates. I think one of the things I can remember is mein Name ist Pete und ich bin 29 Jahre alt und ich wohne in England oder England. Und ich möchte ein Doppelzimmer for 3 Nacht. I can't remember. I think I've just asked for a double room for 3 nights. I'm sure someone who can speak German far better than me can confirm whether or not I was saying something completely different. Pete, there is an end, Ben, and it ends there exactly. I actually also learned quite a bit from listening to Rammstein as well. Like, I know what mein Atem kalt means. My breath is cold. I don't really know how I can use that in a given conversation if I was ever to go on holiday in Germany. Okay, so I think that's it for the bits that I wanted to airbrush with this particular pastel yellow. Yeah, I think I've got everywhere that I wanted to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just use some of... I need to get my wet palette again. First time that I paint at the same time as a stream, it's quite fun and relaxing. Yeah, it's kind of nice just to kind of hang out and just chill with people. Normally I tend to listen to podcasts or watch kind of YouTube videos whilst I'm painting, but it's quite nice just kind of hang out with you guys and just chat, and yeah, it's good. I think one of my favourite German words is Schmetterling, which is butterfly, and it's just typical German just to have such a strong word for something so delicate. But also one of the things I struggle with, I mean, this is completely off topic now. It's supposed to be a painting stream. I'm talking about my failed attempts to learn German. Is one of the things that always gets me is the genders of the words, genders of nouns, and it's very difficult to remember. So I have to come up with little kind of ways of remembering stuff, and it ends up being really strange and sometimes quite sexist to actually remember what they are. So it's der, die, and das. Der is masculine, die is feminine, das is neuter or neutral. So it's der Strand, which means beach, and the reason I remember it's masculine is because of the Normandy landings. They landed on a beach, and it was mainly men that landed on it, so that's how I remember that. I think it's probably intuitive for people who have obviously learned German from birth or quite fluent in it, but for me I have to remember, and I think it's die Schule for school, so it's a feminine word, and I remember that because when I was at school, at primary school at least, most of my teachers were female, so that's how I remember that. So yeah, it's quite a difficult thing for coming from a language where you don't have those kind of gendered nouns. It's quite a difficult thing to learn, and especially even if you come from French, there's only 2 genders in French and Spanish and Italian, I think. German just has that extra one. You can really just improv, no one cares. Yeah, I kind of didn't think it would be a case of people caring that much, because at the end of the day, they mean the same thing. You're still saying the or that or something like that. So you're still getting the point across. Latin has 3. Is, yeah, id. So I'm going to ask every chance I can, when will you do a Relicta Marine video? I think you could do pretty well with the conversion. Relictas now. Familiar, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what those guys are. People keep asking me about mortar factors, so they're kind of like one of the ones that at the moment I'm thinking that need to be done. I actually had some really good ideas for mortar factors very recently, so they might show up fairly soon. I say fairly soon, I could mean any time between now and the end of 2021. So, trying to remember all the gendered, determinate, and indeterminate articles for Italian is a hurdle I'll never get over. Yeah, I think that's there's a guy I work with who can speak French very well, and I think he struggles to remember the genders. For French, obviously there's only 2 in there, but I think one of the funny things is about French from an English point of view is just the way the numbers work. I like the way that German numbers work because it's kind of like you just do addition, but the French numbers are absolutely crazy sometimes. Is it like 73 or something? That's like just an incredible, it's like if you directly translate it, it means like 5 add 20 add -2 divided by 6 or something stupid. I don't mean to disparage your language if we have any French people on here. It's just it's a very interesting. I'm sure there's plenty of interesting things about English that you just don't understand either. So I should actually probably carry on talking about the painting. So I'm just kind of going over some of these areas with some pure pastel yellow with my brush, just because I didn't want to overpower the mask here. I wanted to keep it a fair kind of strong contrast between the black and the red. So I'm just going for the pastel yellow here, and I'll probably do a little bit of glow later on. Relictors are loyalists who seek out chaos relics and weaponry to utilize in combat. They'll use weapons of the enemies against themselves. That sounds pretty cool. Actually, could do some really nice stuff in there. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is fluent in 4 languages and is learning German as a 5th and getting better progress than me without any actual teaching. I learned from collecting old medicine and poison bottles is that gift in German means poison. Like Giftflasche means poison bottle. Oh, Giftflasche, yeah. Well, it's coming together so well. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is coming together so well, Pete. Sorry, second. I think one of my favorite, one of my favorite German words is because I like kind of fancy games and playing fancy games and stuff like that. Is I think it's die Apotheke, which is a pharmacy, but it's like a direct translation of apothecary. And it's just crazy that Germans still basically go to apothecaries to get their paracetamol and their like plasters and things like that and band-aids. It just seems like a really kind of like a quaint idea, to be honest. German is so easy. Swedish is after all a German language. Yeah, it's quite there's a bit of like a bit of artwork on the internet. It's basically the language tree, and it's how the languages stemmed from each other. And you can see that English kind of came split away from the branch that French and Italian and Spanish kind of went to their own way and became the kind of the more romantic languages. And then you have things like German and English; they went their own way as well. And they split off a little bit later on. So it's quite interesting to see the etymology of words and see where they come from and how they share similarities to German and English words. But yeah, as an English speaker, it's definitely easier to learn German, I think, than probably any other European language. The video game Fire Warrior Warhammer game, they have the Relictor where the Space Marine chapter. Oh, okay. Actually, I used to play. Well, no, tell I got bought that game for Christmas one year, and I don't know. I think it must have been just a duff copy of the game because, because it's basically it just never worked. I could never ever get Fire Warrior to work on my PC, so I've never played the game. I always wanted to, and it obviously came out years ago. So playing it now would just be a struggle because it's just such kind of like an old game now. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing really that I always wanted to play. I remember it being announced in White Dwarf, and they made a trench system from the game as like an actual gaming table, and I just could never play the game. My PC just never played it, and I genuinely think it's because of the version of the game that I got. And I'm not sure I don't know if they released it on Steam or anything. But yeah, to this day, I've never played Fire Warrior. Such a shame. It's not Dovecop, it's just Fire Warrior. Yeah, I think it did come across later on when I had the internet. I kind of had to look for solutions for it. People were saying, oh yeah, it just didn't work on my machine at all and they could never play it. So I think it's just old PC games was just the way it was back in the day. Was it a PS3 game? No, I think it came out before the PS3. I think. Can't remember now off the top of my head. Can't remember what year it was. I'm gonna ask you a question now, Ben. You can Google that for me. I know how you really enjoyed checking Lexicon for me last week. So yeah, you can Google what year Fire Warrior came out. It's on GOG. Oh. I might have to check that out. If I can get it working, I'll probably run a stream of that, because playing Mandalore Games retrospective review is not glowing. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the point where it was the first. I think it was one of the first, if not the first, Warhammer first-person shooters. I think there've been a lot of obviously strategy games up to that point, but there hadn't really been much in the way of like a first-person shooter action game. And to be honest, it really hasn't been many since then. I think there's not been loads. It's been mainly strategy games. We've had Deathwing, Space Marine was good, Eternal Crusade. I don't know about that one. I think some people said it was good, some people said it wasn't. But it's mainly strategy games. In 2003, I was 12 in 2003. I just started, I think. I think I'd not long started collecting Warhammer. I think I basically started collecting Warhammer in the February, and then I got bought the game for Christmas of that year. Deathwing streams would be a good idea. They would be a good idea, Pete, but I am terrible at Deathwing. I have played Deathwing, and I am awful at it. I basically just die on the first level. It is just... I mean, if you just want to see me embarrass myself by just not being able to take on hordes of Gene Stealer cultists, and yeah, I think I got lost on like the first level of that, to be honest. I just kind of went around in circles and didn't realize I was going in circles for a long time. Terrible. Okay. Okay, so finally we can kind of come to one of the last steps of this, and this is basically airbrush again. I'm going to be using some Tesseract Glow. This is that new paint that got released with the Necrons. It actually does a really nice effect when you apply it over the yellow. So I'm going to pop some of that into the airbrush. I'm just going to mix it up a bit. And I'm going to spoon this in. First I'm just going to add a little bit thinner in here though. Not too much, because it's already quite thin. Perfect. Died about 7 million times on mission 7. I mean, you've got further than me. I think it kind of came out just when... I think I picked up the game quite a bit after it got released. But I kind of bought it in the middle of all the games being released, so I just never got around to playing it. So it was a nice kind of radioactive glow there. Perfect, what we need. And again, we're going to be using really light sprays here just to kind of apply some very subtle green colouring to some of these areas. And that should be, with any luck, the last step before I assemble. I'm not going to do that on stream though, because I will make a hash job of that if I do it on stream. Can we see that? Was that okay? Yeah, perfect. So again, this is going to be slowly layered up. You can see how it's gone green already. It works really well, kind of for getting that fluorescent Mountain Dew colour. The intention here was to get something really bright just to stand out against the darker colours on the model. Again, I'm just going to approaching this in several steps rather than doing it all in one go. Give it a chance to dry and then go over the top again with some more. And that basically helps to prevent pooling and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to be very careful here around the eyes. In fact, I'm going to go for a little bit of putty here just to protect it. Yeah, I imagine that Space Hulk, the Deathwing is probably a lot better when you've got it with a few people. I think relying on the AI alone is always going to be less effective than actually having humans in there that you can communicate with. And maybe what I should do is have a bunch of people who are actually good at the game, and then they can make me look good by being good themselves. Okay. So I'm just doing this off camera just so I can make sure. It was basically just covered the red of the face up just so I don't want to overpower it with the glowing eyes. So let's see. Best trick I found for the single player is to give the Devastator Terminator the lightning claws and take the assault cannon for yourself. Yeah, I can imagine that the assault cannon is pretty good. I actually have a copy of the board game Space Hulk, and I quite enjoyed it actually. I need to play a bit more. It's quite a fun game from what I remember. It's really kind of increasing the brightness here. I might go over it with maybe a little bit of a wash later on, just to tone down some of the green, add a little bit more. A little bit of darkness to the recesses. Okay. Okay, and we can do the head again as well. Any advice from flirting with normal people? I really need some. I mean, to be honest, I started dating my wife 14 years ago. Yesterday, actually. So I've been together 14 years. So I have no concept of how to date people now. I have no idea on how to approach people. So I'm probably the worst person to ask for that situation. I'm completely out of the loop. Okay, I think that is all of the green glow completed. I don't think there's much in the way of extra bits to add now. I think that's pretty much it. So let's remove the putty and let's see what we're left with. Quite nice, yeah, nice and subtle there. And then the same with the backpack. Let's remove that. Yeah. See the results there. Quite happy with that personally. Pete the parsnip. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would totally agree. Don't go for completely normal people. Normal people are boring. My wife's certainly not the kind of what you would class as normal. She enjoys playing games. She enjoys board games. She does enjoy painting models, not as much as I do, but she does paint them for every now and again. Yeah, she's not what you call kind of like mainstream, I'd say. But yeah, that's what you need. You need someone who's kind of works well with your own interests. Don't have to have the exact same interests as you, or as be interested in everything as you are. But I always find it's helpful when you've got something that you can kind of have familiar and you can enjoy together personally. Okay. So I actually think that that's probably rounded off the stream quite nicely. I might do a little bit more. Yeah, let's carry on. We've got about 15 minutes actually, but I'm quite glad that I got to that stage at least. So let's just grab a little bit of contrast paint. I've got to find the right one now. When are we going to get a Pete's Wife Paints with Pete's Advice stream? But yeah, I still need to do that one. I might do that over Christmas, actually. I think it'd be interesting to kind of get a paint a Space Marine model, or maybe just paint. I'm trying to think which tutorial would be best for it to paint and to follow. Pete tripped spilling the 9-gallon drum of Northern oil over the pearl white sedan in the parking lot. Oh no, my car has gained so much shade and definition, a woman screams. That's my wife, he said. Exactly how you find them. The YouTube algorithm would go wild. Yes, it would do. Black Templar, yeah, I think that might be... I'm not sure. She did a pretty good job of some... just to let you know, actually, I'm just using some contrast paint here. Just using some of the contrast paint Warp Lightning. Just thin it out a little bit. I'm just going to be applying a little bit in these recesses just to help give them a little bit more definition. I think sometimes when you do these OSLs, it can lose the definition and make them look a little bit flat. So just adding a little bit more kind of like a shading here just creates a bit more of an interesting result in my opinion. Okay, we can add a little bit more to the ends of these cables as well. I'm just going to feather that down. Okay, do the same for this. Would she take over the channel if she was better than you? I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd be happy for her to take over if she was better than you. If better than me, it's better than you. I don't think she'd be as into doing the videos as I am, though, to be honest. I think she'd maybe take a bit more convincing to do them. I think the only thing about doing that I'd be kind of a bit wary of is having done YouTube for 6 years, I've kind of developed a little bit of a thicker skin when it comes to YouTube comments. So I'd be worried what she'd think if she inevitably got some of the YouTube trolls coming out of the woodwork. Need to do a little bit around the eyes, and I think that's it. Would depend on whether she can beat Pete's buttery smooth voice. I think, to be honest, I don't think she would want to do the voiceover. I think it'd just be me narrating her painting. That'd pretty much be it. don't think I could convince her to do the painting, but I don't think I could convince her to do the voiceover at the same time. That's a bit too far. Right, I think that is it, as much as I can do anyway. I think the only thing I want to do after this was basically just to do the basing, but the basing is probably going to take a bit longer than 10 minutes to do, so I don't want to kind of half start it whilst. But yeah, this video is going to get done probably going to complete this painting at least either today or tomorrow, and then the video for this guy will be out on Friday, so you'll see what I did with the base and how he looks when he's all come together as well. Quite enjoyed this guy. Painting most of him on a live stream has been pretty good. Obviously the metallics weren't done, they were done between the streams, but yeah, I think it's kind of coming nicely. I should keep this in shot, there we go, always forget to do that. But yeah, I think the glowing effect works nice. It's just subtle enough, it doesn't overpower the model, it just contrasts nicely against the green, also gives the weapon a slightly otherworldly glow as well. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with how this guy's turned out, so I'm looking forward to getting him based and painted and varnished and everything as well. Pete's manicured nails out. To be honest, I mean, people say this about me, but I actually bite my nails. It's kind of a disgusting habit, I know, but surprisingly, I actually just bite my nails. That's how I end up with them being like that. Could you do it in a woman's voice? I could do, just do like a typical Monty Python woman. Female voice from Monty Python, yeah. That'd be quite an entertaining stream. It'd probably give me a sore throat by the end of it, though. Right then, I'm not going to witter on and chat anymore. I've taken up enough of your time already this evening, but thank you very much for joining me. And as I said, this guy will be available. How I built this guy will be available on Friday, and you'll be able to see the full finished model, base painted, and everything as well. Yeah, so thank you for joining me for this stream. Thank you for joining me for the last stream. People on YouTube, thank you. People on Twitter, thank you very much. If you haven't done so already, then be sure to check out my Discord. I think I can pop it quickly in the Twitch, just in case anyone who's not already on there. Do I ever control V? Yeah, there you go. If you're on Twitch, then you can follow that link during the Discord. If you're on YouTube, check the description. Lots of great people in there. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me. If you're a Patreon supporter, if you have tipped me, super chatted me, used my affiliates links, or supported me on my Buy Me a Coffee, then thank you very much for doing so. Everything you do really helps this channel. Allows me to buy bits and kits and do some interesting conversions with them. So yeah, until the next time, I will, hopefully you have a good rest of your week, and I shall see you in a live stream, hopefully on Sunday again. Going to go for Sundays and Wednesdays, I think, at the moment, but yeah. And before then, I'll see you on Friday for how to convert Black Vipers. See you guys, thank you very much.